Hey, hey, infinite beings. Welcome back to the Infinite Me, where every day we're having conversations about how we can all incorporate more infiniteness into our life and what that looks like. And of course, you don't have to ascend to your powers or awaken them or do any of those things. You actually got all your powers already. You've just got to, I guess, learn how to use them more, know that they're actually there, where they're showing up, and then how to use those in your life. So yesterday we had a chat all about, I probably should introduce ourselves first in case you don't know who we are. I'm Nat, and over there is
Hello.
my sister Mandy. She's all the way down in Australia, and I'm in Belgium right now. So we're both house sitting, and we move around all the time. So there you go. So yesterday we had a conversation about how to interpret energetic energies, how to interpret different energies.
The feelings in your body. And
yeah. So it was an interesting one. We talked all about, we had sort of a bit of a mixed bag, really. We talked about Mercury retrograde and how quite a few people, I would hesitate to say, in the consciousness or spiritual world, the energetic world particularly, might buy into the story of Mercury retrograde and how that then influences our technology and our bodies and our workflow and all those different things. And just times when you're feeling really low and perhaps feeling a bit depressed or just not feeling sort of really tapped in, I guess. And we interpret those energies as perhaps wanting to get out of them, that they're wrong. And we just sort of, it's so easy to just place all the judgments on it, particularly when you've been in the consciousness world for a while. And it's like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like that anymore. I should actually be always up and always feeling really connected and feeling really abundant and really plugged in. And I guess the fact is we're just not. So, and that's okay. So if you're sort of feeling like you're going through this ebb and flow, it's not so much the ebb and flow that's happening, it's more our interpretation of that ebb and flow. Then that was actually a really good topic to listen into and have a watch of. So today, every day we have conversations totally in the flow. We don't even know what we're going to talk about when we get on our lives. Mandy holds the infinite lucky dip.
Yes.
There it is, the official lucky dip. And every day we pull out a new topic to talk about, and we allow the infinite to come on through.
Right.
Come on down.
I had one in my finger, but I pulled out about 5. About 5 of them fell
I
off.
haven't got time for 5 topics, just one. And the winner is B11.
Okay. All right. This is a quote from our friend 𝘾𝙤𝙤𝙨𝙾𝙞𝙀, who we've referenced before, from Bondi Guru. And she writes daily intuitive horoscopes, but they're not based on anything to do with planets or normal horoscopes. It is, which sounds really weird, but it's more a delivery mechanism. But she talks very much in the moment, a very direct, intuitive message that she brings forth. And so we really resonate with her stuff a lot. She's very honest and direct with stuff. And so this was a direct quote of hers, which I thought was really cool. So I've put, your opportunity isn't to change the story. Your opportunity is to face the fear that the story stirs within you.
Ooh. I read that meme the other day. That was from the other day. Yeah.
Yes. So your opportunity isn't to change the story. Your opportunity is to face the fear that the story stirs within you.
Awesome, I guess.
Yep.
Okay. What came up for you when you read that?
I think for me it was a confirmation of all the messaging that we've sort of been talking about a lot in our Infinite Me videos here. So it's definitely felt like truth to me when I read that statement. So it was like, I thought, oh, this would be a really good topic to put in as a direct quote from somebody else, because it kind of sums up, I think, what the infinite experience is about, if you like, that it's got nothing to do with the story that's happening outside of you. Like, if we get caught in looking at that story, then we get the booby prize. Like, we sort of, we don't get to see, we don't get to take our power back out of it 100%. So it's we still have something else outside of us that's running us. So rather than seeing it, like as she's saying, it's the opportunity is to see the fear that the story is stirring within you, because it's always a direct reflection of something that's going on in you, the story. So whatever's happening out there, it's about what that brings up inside of you. It's got nothing to do with the circumstances or the event or the people or the situations that come up out of that, the arguments or the, anything. Like none of that is actually important at the end of the day, although we get stuck in that a lot of the time. And so we don't get to go to that deeper level of actually like seeing what the root, I don't want to say root cause, because that kind of indicates that we have to kind of dig and look for, that there's something wrong with it. It's more, what's that core underlying fear that holds that whole illusion in place, if you like. So we get the opportunity to actually go to that base level core. So that could be like, I don't feel safe in the world. I feel misunderstood, or so whatever that base level fear that comes up, that's the opportunity that comes up in the story. So yeah, so I like that idea of looking at it as an opportunity rather than something we've got to fix or change in our story outside of us.
Okay, so I'm just writing it down. The opportunity is not to change the story, it is the opportunity to face the fear that the story
stirs within you.
Stirs within us. Okay.
Yeah. So I think we know when we don't face that fear, it keeps running us. So it keeps running us from the perspective of we feel like there is something to fix, change, and improve, like what we've spoken about before with the that aspect of us that feels separate. It feels like we have to control the story outside of us, that we don't have the support of the whole universe behind us. Like it's that we're on our own and we've got to manage everything and to get an outcome that suits us, to suit our personality and our ego. But yeah, so I see it as like it's a really cool way to reframe those things when they come up, is like to really see what it's stirring within you and to keep taking that focus back inside of you, which we talk about in pretty much all of our videos about. It's got nothing to do with the outside world. Nothing. Like it doesn't matter what scenario you can come up with, it always comes back to the same point, that it's got nothing to do with the outside world. It doesn't change. It's the same underlying truth principle that pins it all together at the end of the day, that it's always a creation of yours, coming from that infinite consciousness. It's a creation that you've put into the world to bring up something within yourself, to awaken yourself to who you truly are, to come home to that space of who you truly are and release the power from that story or that fear that you had playing outside of you.
Yeah, and we've definitely spoken about this throughout tons and tons of our videos. The whole concept that the story itself is actually the illusion. And if we think about it as, sitting in a movie theater and we're watching the screen and the movie's up on the screen, you can't actually change what's being projected on the screen, sort of thing. You don't go up to the screen and try and change that. You have to go in to the back to the projector. I used to work at the movies. I was an usher.
Yes.
Usher for many years. You have to go to the projector room and change the big film reel. And that then gets projected onto the screen as a totally different storyline. So it's such a good metaphor, because it really does make us remember that what reality actually is the movie screen. It's the equivalent of the movie screen. It's already manifested. You can't actually change what's already manifested. You have to change the internal system that creates the movie in the first place. And that's you. So that's your consciousness and stuff. So the opportunity is not to change the story, or you can't even change the story. That's the whole point in the first place, I guess. Like if you want to go to the nth degree of, the highest degree of where this comes from, it's like you actually can't change it. But what we get stuck in is like the whole fix, change, and improve type scenario. Like we've all fallen for that like 100 times over, million times over. Is that we go in and we try and fix our health or our money situation or get a better job and all this sort of stuff. So rather than changing the feeling that those things bring up, and why are we trying to change those things in the first place? So why are you trying to change your health or lose more weight or have more money or have a better job, or have more people like you, or have a better relationship? Like, why are we actually, like, let's go back to the root cause of that, which is the projector,
Yes.
the movie reel, and why are we actually trying to change those things in the first place? Why are they, what are they bringing up in us? And I guess that's what Gaz is actually talking about here, is whatever the story is projecting, and it's not just to face the fear, but it's probably facing all the emotions that the storyline is actually bringing up in us as well. It's like, if your storyline is stirring up a whole bunch of emotions, then they're meant to be there. It's actually, that's what the story does.
It's what
It's like
there for.
watching any movie, I guess, you know, if you're watching a movie and you're feeling up and down, you know, through the character arcs and stuff like that, and you're sort of like going, yeah, come on, like, you can do it type thing, or oh my god, I feel really sad for them right now. Like, it's taking you, like, you can just notice when you watch a movie all the emotions that you go through, particularly on a really good movie. It'll take you through tons and tons of it, like this massive emotional journey. And that's like you watching your life type thing. It actually is meant to take you on this massive emotional journey, but for the emotions to stir up, so the fears and all the emotions to come up and actually look at those. So if they're, you know, if you feel like they're limiting or not expansive in some way, then you get the opportunity to actually see those. And it's the storyline that brings those out. If we didn't have a storyline, we wouldn't actually feel those emotions.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, switch the movie off, you're not feeling the emotions anymore. So
yeah, it's true. It's like, and the whole point of them being there in the story is to show up where you still have your power hidden, in the illusion that you're still a separate entity, and there's still this outside drive, this need that we're looking to satisfy all the time to feel love at the end of the day. So this whole concept of like unconditional love versus human love, which we've spoken about before. So we all think about unconditional love, but we still usually have a bit of a slant of what we think that means from a human reality perspective still. But at the end of the day, it just means everything is one. There is no right, wrong. There's no judgment. There's no, it just an isness. Like, that's love, is just that total acceptance of everything as it is in the moment. Whereas when we come from the story space, we're always looking to be loved. So there is this need, like, so we're obviously then saying that I'm missing something, and something outside of me has that, and I need to get it from that situation or that person or that job or that whatever. So that's what I sort of take from this too, is just like the opportunity is to look at that underlying paradigm that we have, that this thing exists outside of me and I actually don't have it. So it gives you that opportunity to see this thing that's bringing up within you, so that you can actually get to that point of saying, I actually have that. That is me. Everything I'm seeing outside of me is me. There's nothing that exists outside of me. So that trait that person has over there, we've spoken about this before with John Demartini's work, where he talks about all the traits that you could possibly identify in the world. And he came up with a number of
1,400 human traits, identified human traits. Yeah.
Yes. So you could
and
go
we have
through
every one of them.
Yeah, we've got every single one of them. That's the thing. So all these things that even you would deem as a negative, like, I don't know, like killing somebody, or I don't know whether that falls into a trait, but like kind of judging people, betrayal, those type of things. So we sort of think, oh, I don't do that. Like, I don't do that anywhere in my life. But it's like, when you actually go through the process, you see where you do it in your life. It'll be in a different context and a different form. But where do you portray yourself, for example? Like, where do you let yourself down? Where are you judging yourself or judging somebody else, but it's in a completely different form? You know, so when you start to go through those processes, you sort of see that there's nothing outside of me that I don't already have. What I see in somebody else is what I'm feeling I don't have, but I actually do have it on some level. So that is that opportunity to face to what that is, because that goes for positive things too. So we look at a positive thing in somebody else and we think, oh, wow, they're so lucky that they're so charismatic, or they're so
natural born leader, or
or they're just so nice and kind, and all these sort of labels that we come up with, and we sort of think, oh, I don't have that, I'm not charismatic, I'm not a people person. But then you have to sort of look at it, well, where do you show up, where do you have the charisma? You get to own that, because you don't see it in something else unless you've got it yourself. Like, you only have that feeling that it's not there because there's a part of you that knows that it is actually a reflection of you. You just haven't owned that part of you yet. So I think that just comes back to fear part, or fear, whatever. We might want to interchange that with a different word too, like just the feeling that comes up within you, or the emotion that gets stirred. It's like that opportunity to see that part of yourself that you've disowned at this level, at this point, and you get to own it again and take your power back out of that and see it for what it truly is at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess that's it. Like this does bring in the owning of all the traits. I think it's really important. Like the law of reflection, which is a universal principle, tells us that everything that you see outside of you actually is purely a reflection of your consciousness and of who you are. So yeah, if you're seeing positive traits in other people, like charisma, then you couldn't possibly actually see that or identify that in somebody else if you actually didn't own it yourself. So it would be impossible, thanks to the law of reflection. So it really is about owning all those different traits, the good and the bad. We label them all. And of course, traits are just traits. They're not good or bad in actual essence. But we just label them that way. You know, what you might label charisma as a really good thing, and I might say, actually, I've seen plenty of charismatic people and I don't like it at all in people. And that might well be true. You know, like charismatic, just use as an example, can often be attached to, you know, evangelistic and all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh my God, like now you're trying to rope people in and you're, you know, really manipulating people and stuff. Like I might see charisma as a real manipulative thing because I've seen that's my identity to that. So it's really interesting to use the storyline to actually see the positives and negatives in different people and going, where do I actually own that? This is such a humbling experience. And it was so interesting to work with John's work for many, many years with people. How many people, I don't know if you heard this, man, how many people sort of said, well, I pride myself in not being like that. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm totally the opposite to that. I've really focused on that in my life too, not being like, not betraying people. And so I definitely do not have an ounce of betrayal in me. I was like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. So but the more you dig down, like that's obviously just the ego saying that. But the more you dig down, and you really do have to sometimes work hard at this, because the ego really does feel like quite proud of the fact that you're not like that, and really find the essence of that and go, no, actually, it shows up in a different form. Everybody has all 1,400 human traits, and we display them all the time. And it's so interesting when you pride yourself on not being a particular way, how many other people, because that was the other thing that part of that exercise is to say, okay, who sees that in you? Who sees you betraying other people? And I was like, oh shit, like, yeah, I can think of an incident where my mum actually saw me, you know, do a betrayal on my dad type thing, or my sister saw it, or my friend. Yeah, I actually betrayed my friend, so she saw that. I was like, oh, okay. So there's just humble, because when you're not identifying the traits in yourself or the feelings in yourself, you're putting yourself on a pedestal. You're saying that I'm better than you. I don't betray anyone, so I'm better than you because you do. And so I'm judging you as being, as being less than me, basically. So to actually sort of identify all these traits, and it's such a good experience, or good exercise to go through. You know, if you ever had any spare time, you go through all 1,400 human traits and identify. John probably has done. He has done. I know he's done. Yeah. Identify where you have those traits and who actually sees those in you, because then you really do get the essence of everybody is equal, everyone's the same, it all just plays out in different ways, and then you don't get triggered by all these different things.
It comes down to, brings it back to that neutral place that we've spoken about before, where it all comes back to just being pure unconditional love. So when you bring that thing back into balance, whether it is the elevated, you know, emotion, or the one that puts you down in the pit sort of thing, so whether it's a good or a bad or a positive or a negative in terms of a judgment, it just brings it back into that space of love. So by doing that, you're taking the power completely out of that illusion anymore. That emotion can't run you anymore. And it may still come up if it's a particularly strong one in your storyline. It may come up multiple times in different scenarios too, and you might sort of think, oh God, I thought I was done with that thing. You know, like here it is again in my world, and it's like, well, you're just being asked to go to a different level of
Mm.
taking your power back out of that. There's obviously a very strong paradigm that you've set up for yourself that's still running you, and you get another opportunity, like what Gaz is saying here, you get an opportunity to look
Yeah.
at that again and take the power back out of it again on an even deeper level. So, you know, and why would you want to do this? Like, it's just, the whole point of that is to really come back to that knowingness of who you truly are as an infinite being, so that you have access to that unlimited power and potential that sits in that space. So when we have the stories running outside of us and we want to change the story, we're basically then, you know, saying, I believe in separation, and that thing is real outside of me, and I don't have power over it, and I've got to do something. I've got to manipulate it. I've got to, I've got to work really hard to change something outside of me to get an outcome because I feel like I need it. So that all that story that goes on with that, it just takes us totally away from the focus of that we're an infinite being, and we're all of that. Like, we have access to all of that and all of the creativity that we want at the end of the day. But it isn't about changing the outside story. It is that projector reel, like you said, like changing the actual internal story of what is the truth and releasing it as a story. It's not a story anymore. It just becomes an isness. It's just what is, becomes that love, unconditional love.
And I guess at the end of the day, we only want to change our story if we perceive something as a negative. Like, if something is a really positive experience, then more than happy to embrace that.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
More of that. But if something is perceived as negative, and this is only everybody's individual perception of that, everyone's going to have a very different take on every situation that occurs. So it really is about you and how you're responding to that particular storyline.
Yeah.
And if you perceive that to be negative, then you'll want it changed. That's our natural humanness, is to want to move away from pain, because that's what it feels like, and move towards stuff that we love. But a conscious being and an infinite being would move towards it, towards the pain and towards the negativity, and that's really what Gaz is talking about here, is because that's where the opportunity sits. You actually have such an opportunity, and it's such a gift in that moment. So to be super conscious and to be super in your infinite power would be awesome. This negative thing has just happened right now in my perception. Let's go. Let's look at this. What's going on here for me? And I guess as those negative emotions come up, say it is betrayal, like just going back to that, I think the other part of that exercise is not just identifying that you actually have that trait as well. And this is just one example of the 1,400 different traits. And who sees that in you, so that you feel more humbled. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm not getting away with it. Because we often think, the ego likes to think it gets away with everything. So, oh, I just betrayed such and such, but no one saw it. Like, I got away with that type thing. There's definitely that sneaky little essence to it as well, that you can get away with stuff. And it's like, no, the universe is seeing everything. So you're not getting away with anything.
It'll come back in some form.
It'll come back. If you haven't seen it now, you'll see it later. But I guess the other thing too is, like, okay, say betrayal actually is that trait, then, and you sort of start to identify, oh, actually I betrayed my sister, for example. Sorry, man.
Never going to forgive you for that.
I know. Forgiveness? Oh, I don't believe in that. It's like, the other part of that is then I could start to feel guilty that I've betrayed you, for instance. And so then that starts a whole other story. Like, now I'm feeling really guilty about everything. And it's like, no, it really is about bringing that into play, like, to asking the question now is, how did that serve you? How did it support you? And how did it support me? So that's the other part of that exercise, is to actually really ask, with those traits, when you go through them, identify them, particularly the negative ones, is how does it serve you that you have that trait, and that you displayed that trait and exercised that trait? How does it help everybody else that got involved in that particular situation? Because the truth is that it wasn't by accident that you betrayed somebody. It actually was there for a reason, and it's helped the person that did the betrayal, and it's also helped the person that received the betrayal as well. And it's, for the person that's on the receiving end, it's got you to do something or not do something as a result of that. It's made you stand up and actually realize something. So, about yourself, take your power back, whatever it is,
Yeah.
whatever that trait has actually exercised. So
Yes.
fact is, every trait in every situation actually serves everybody that's involved in that particular
Yeah.
exercise. That
Yes.
and that's the opportunity, like Gaz is talking about here. That's the opportunity that we have to see that. If we don't take that opportunity and don't see that, then yes, we'll be hurt and we'll be rejecting things and we'll shut down. And that's
Yes.
where you find your energy getting more and more closed in, shut down, heart. I'm protecting my heart. I'm not letting anyone else in. I'm not trusting anyone else anymore because I've
Yes.
betrayed. And then that's it. That's your existence. It's not affecting the other person. They're off just living a life
Yeah.
probably most of the time.
Probably, yeah.
And so it's got nothing to do with them. It's all
Yes.
about how you reacted to that. So you have the opportunity to always stay open to
Yes.
whatever is coming up. And so many times I have to remind myself, it's like, stay open right now. Don't shut down. I know this is really hurting right now. And
Yes.
what's being said to me or I'm reading right now is really hurting like shit. But I have an opportunity to stay open right now and find the love in this thing
Yes.
through the situation. And then bang, next quantum level, we're up another level of consciousness. And
Yeah.
we've filled that love again. It's
Yes.
there. We've just got to do the work. That's what we keep talking about. You have to do the work on this stuff. You can't just shut down, or you can choose to do that.
Whatever you want.
If you really want to live infinitely,
Yeah.
and that's what the infinite would do. It would stay open no matter what. And it's only our humanness that's feeling the hurt and the pain. On the infinite level, it's all neutral. All of it's neutral.
Yes.
So there is only love. And I think that's the other part that really stirs in me. That second thing that Jody Gaz has actually said is face the fear. When you really look at all the traits and all the emotions, there is only the emotion of, well, not even the emotion, the truth of love, unconditional love. And if you're not in that, you're in fear.
Yeah.
That's the
It's
only
simple. It is as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
And you can break down every single emotion and every single trait, and it'll all come back to fear.
Yeah.
So at its base level, that's what underlies everything. That's the baseline level. We are going to talk about an ego just briefly. Then its basis is living in fear.
yes.
And so when you feel betrayed, it's because underlying you have a fear of being left alone, of not being able to trust people, whatever it's brought up in you, that's the baseline level of it is actually fear.
Yes.
So we have the opportunity then, as Gaz has rightly said, to face that fear,
Yes.
whatever that baseline is, and
Yes.
and go, okay, I'm going to bring it back to unconditional love because I know that's the only truth here.
Yeah.
The rest of it
Yep.
is the illusion, the fear in the storyline and the emotions and all the stuff that stirs up in us is all the illusion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of Warrant's saying too about, when we did our rant video on Sunday around the ego, about not putting the focus on the ego. I think it kind of warrants like where we stand on that. So it's not that we can't talk about the ego. It's more kind of breaking it down of what that actually means, because there's so many connotations. As soon as you say ego, people just think, oh, that's when you're in this really prideful state and you're egotistical. We sort of say that about people, oh, so egotistical. And we think that's what ego is. It's driving us to make these kind of arrogant decisions kind of thing, or something like that, that we act out of this really unconscious space. But ego just embodies everything to do with like your belief systems that run you, anything that says that you're separate to the world outside of you, that it's not your creation, that you haven't put this here into your story for some reason to bring up something within you. That's all ego is. So as we sort of said in that video too, was that ego is here as a tool for us. So it is literally there to guide us to these spaces that Gaz is talking about. Like, so when that fear comes up, the ego has brought that to our attention. So it's working for us. It is a tool so that we can see where we've still got our power. And that's all it is at the end of the day. So when we made that point on Sunday about we can't give our attention to the ego, because I've had a bit of little bit of pushback on some of this on some level, which is fine. I knew that was probably going to happen because it's triggers people's ego. And
Yeah.
exactly what. But the whole point of that conversation was that ego is going to be there regardless, no matter what. Like, we're not getting rid of it. It's part of our consciousness, and we're not here to get rid of it. It's there as a tool for us. It's bringing up these fears for us to actually see in the storyline.
It's an awesome thing. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. The point we were sort of making is if you're an infinite being, and we say we want to wake back up to that infinite space, we want to become that, embody the infinite feeling that's moving through us, then even if most of your feeling that moves through you to do something is based on an intuition, so it is based on a true feeling that we've talked about, like this infinite feeling comes through you to do something in the moment, if there is even like a 1% little bit of ego that comes in to kind of skew you, like to give you that idea that there is something outside of you, something you need to do to overcome something, that's the little part we're talking about. Yeah, that's the stand we're taking on that, is just like, what is this little hook that gets into you that takes you off? Well, not say take you off path, because there isn't anything that takes you off path. As we said, the ego is always serving us to show us where we've still got the power. But it's more like the more we put the power on the, I guess, the paradigm of what people think ego is, that it's a bad thing, and that we have to get rid of it, and we can't have these stories like like all that kind of stuff that goes on. That's what I mean. There's so much context around ego. It's almost like we're saying we have to come up with another word for it, just so it doesn't have all these connotations around it.
Yeah,
but
we did.
It's that call to what we're standing for, and like what, everything that we want to do in this revolution idea that we're talking about, we're launching in a few weeks' time, is that it's all around this not being complacent about where we put our attention. Like, if we allow this little bit to come in, as just being really clear with yourself and really honest with what makes you do certain things. Like, and so they said it might be 99% pure intuition and true feeling, but then that little 1% that comes in that still feels like it needs love outside of itself. That's the part I want to bring the attention to. It's just like, not attention in terms of focusing on it as a story, but it's more like, what is that little part showing you in your story of where you've still got some power, where you still have fear, where you still have this thing outside of you that you're separate. Like, that's the part you want to sort of be looking at. That's where your ego is helping you. So that's where it's a good tool. Like, but it's not about never saying the word ego, or I don't know. Like, I think sort of it felt like it was getting a little bit misconstrued or something, and it's like it's just a total different way of being. To me, it feels like a commitment to, if you want to become an infinite, you want to awaken to your infiniteness that's already there, it's already existing, we're just not seeing it. Like, it's not like we have to be somewhere or get somewhere or achieve something. We already are it. We've just covered it over, and we're sort of taking the cloud cover off, if you like, of not being able to see our true state. And so these little things are the things to watch out for, these little hooks that keep bringing us out of that the truth of who we truly are, and takes us into the story. That's the things you want to keep an eye out for. So that's what
to me it comes down to actually Gaz's mum mentioned this once. She is known as the Oracle. And a lot of the work that Gaz and her brother Amir, who's one of our mentors, talks about is a lot of the concepts that she's taught them over the years, and so while they were growing up. And she is an amazing, amazing lady. I've had the pleasure of spending a bit of time with her. And I remember her saying there one time, we used to go there for lunch on Sundays, and they'd have a big family lunch and stuff. A couple of times I went. And I remember her saying, she doesn't speak a huge amount of English, but so she often will speak to the kids in Persian. And so Gaz sort of turned to me at some stage and she said, oh, Mum just sort of said about living in two worlds. I was like, oh, okay. I sort of didn't really get it fully at the time, sort of thing. But what she was saying was, you're either playing in the infinite space all the time, 100%, totally in, going, yes, I'm 100% committed to my infinite self, and I am not going to allow the limitations to come back in. Or you're playing in some people are totally playing in the limitation world, so they're actually in our the way we speak, I guess, in our languaging, is that you're totally in the story. You don't even know that there's actually anything outside of that story. You're just 100% in that drama,
That's
and this is
reality.
happening, that's happening. And if you're totally unconscious, that's where you're playing. You have no idea that there is actually a place outside of that.
Yes.
We can start observing that. So, and we've all come from that space. We were all in that space at some stage before we, really got into this journey.
Yes.
But then there's a place that we seem to all get to on our consciousness journey, particularly, is that we get stuck between two worlds. So we know we're infinite, and we 100% totally feel that and resonate with that in our inner being. Like, we've done enough consciousness work on ourselves to really feel that space, and we see glimpses of it. We see weird miracle things happen and go, and they are glimpses. They're meant to be there for a reason, to show you, oh, don't forget, I'm over here. Your infinite self is still here, and anything is still possible in this world, don't forget. And it's such a cool space. And when we have a glimpse of it, we go, holy crap, that feels 100% like me. It is so fulfilling on every level.
Yes.
You resonate with that, because that's the truth of who you are. And then we spend all of our time, we go back out of it, we get back into human world and into the limitations, and we start buying into the stories again, and we're putting our power into this person and that person and this situation. I don't have enough money, and I've got to lose some weight, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that. And suddenly we've got a to-do list that's a mile long of all the things that we actually need to fix in ourselves and our world. And suddenly we're in two worlds again. So we know this still exists over here, infinite land, and then we're playing in this world as well. And so we have 2 feet in both worlds. And that's really what Lily was talking about, the oracle was talking about, is that's where so many of us have been playing, have been playing.
Yes.
And to me, that's what the revolution is about. It's making a stand and saying, I'm going to play in infinite land as much as I possibly can. And you're not going to do it 100% of the time. It has to be a learning curve in terms of remembering all this stuff, because we've had so many patterns and ways of being that are not that. We try to be that. We try to get back to this all the time because it's such an amazing feeling. But then we get drawn back into it again, into reality again, and putting the power into reality. And that's what the revolution is about. It's if we could have a collective group of people that make the stand and go, I am going to do this as much as I possibly can, as trying to remember this in every moment. And if I've got everybody else there reminding me over and over and over again all day, then eventually I'm going to get this, and I'm going to stay there in this world, in the infinite world. And I'm going to be able to play from that space, because that is a totally different way of playing the game, 100% different to the way we've been playing it, even in the 2-world game. We're still backwards and forwards and feeling the emotions and all this sort of stuff. And we're really not stepping into our true potential, our true infinite potential that exists only in this world.
Yes.
And I don't know where I was going with all that. But
no, you're just talking about where the difference with that whole being in 2 feet into being an infinite being. It doesn't work being 1 foot in each world. And that's probably where we started with our conversations for the infinite me, what the whole reason, if you like, or the impetus behind us doing this whole project was.
Or naming it this.
Yeah, it was because we were identifying that in ourselves, where we were just getting so kind of almost frustrated with yourself, because you're like, God, I know this part of me is true, like what Nat's just saying, I know this is true, but why am I not living it all the time? Like, it's kind of like, what's going on? Like, probably at the time it might have been asked from an ego perspective of like, what's wrong with this? What am I not getting? Like, it was probably coming from a bit of that's something here, but it's like, no, it's not even about that now. It's about, I want to live this. I want to live this. I want to embody it. What do I need to do to embody it? And I'm not going to put the power anymore into the stories and the excuses, if you like, for not being diligent enough to put the focus on this 100%. Like, it's at the end of the day, that was what it was. It's just like, I haven't actually made this a priority. It hasn't been a priority to make this my true focus in my lifetime. On some level, I'm saying it is by doing the courses and reading the books, but then on some level, there's this little part of you that doesn't make that full leap into going, you know what, I'm going to do this no matter what. No matter what happens, I'm going to keep remembering that this is who I truly am, and I'm going to plug into things around me that support me to keep remembering that. and I'm going to
Yeah.
keep pulling myself up on the stuff. I'm going to use them as the opportunity to see the fear that's still coming up. I'm going to use these things to see what it's stirring within me and not put it on the story outside of me. I'm going to, even if it means I've got to, like someone saying something directly to my face and it's stirring all this crap up within me, I'm going to pause and not respond, because I'm going to take that opportunity to see what's coming up within me. And okay, you might react in the moment, you might say something, it happens. Like, that's the thing. We're still in this journey, like, navigating our way through it. But then you go away and you kind of go, wow, okay, what was that thing that was stirring within me? And you get that opportunity then to face what is coming up within you. So it's like that diligence to keep doing that, to keep bringing the attention back to the truth. And that's what we're taking the stand for. It's just like, no, enough. There's no more than 1% of the ego still creeping in to take you back to that story of separation. It's like, no, we're taking a stand for that. And we want other people, we would love other people to want to play on that same journey with us. If it feels like it calls you to do that, then we would love to join together, because we just think it'd be so much fun to be playing in this world where we do all stand up for this and for ourselves to become our infinite self. And what unlimited potential and creativity can we unlock when we come from that space. And so that's what we're calling stuff out for. Yep.
Just what really sparked with me then was maybe it's about redefining what the ego actually is and then leaving it alone. But what we're actually taking a stand for is the feeling, or the some level, the 1%, the 5%, whatever it is for somebody, of I'm still separate. So it's actually not about the ego. It's about the feeling, and you keep talking about this all the time, and we're sort of working out what our messaging is and all that sort of stuff. There's a part of you that still at some level feels separate.
Yeah.
That you haven't perhaps identified, perhaps you haven't been honest with yourself about that. Like, that was definitely my thing when we first started doing this, this work. I remember talking to you when I came to you and said, let's talk about consciousness again. Let's get back together again and actually do some work together again.
Yes.
And we spent weeks trying to work out what was the actual thing that we wanted to bring through, like what felt true for us now. And we kept refining it, and we'd go down this line and go, we could talk about this, we could talk about that, we could focus on this, we could focus on that. And then I remember the conversation sitting there, I was in Singapore, and we finally just went, well, why don't we just talk about the ultimate level, the ultimate truth, which is you're already infinite.
Yeah.
I was like,
you already are it.
Yeah. Like, really, if we talk about anything less than that, then we're back in the talking about the illusion again. Why would you want to talk about the illusion? Why don't you want to talk about the truth? And the truth is you're already infinite. So that is the pinnacle, I guess, if we're trying, there's an end part to the journey, but that is the ultimate truth. And it's like, so anything less than that, it has to be less than that and not worthy of talking about. So that's why we talked about, why we named this whole thing the Infinite Me in the end. Like, it's just like, okay, that's it. That's what it's about. You're already infinite.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it is, like, I know at that point when I came to you, there was still a part of me that really felt separate. Like, as much work as
I had that
15 years plus worth of work, so much money, time, effort, every day picking myself up in every single moment that I could think of it. I was so diligent. I have been over the years. I've been so diligent of picking myself up on things, and my languaging and the way I'm feeling about things, the way I'm thinking and all that sort of stuff. And yet there was still a part of me that was scared shitless of, if I finally let go of control and give it up to the infinite, and I'm stepping into the infinite zone myself, that it would create, so I'm saying it as in it's separate still, it would create a situation that was really difficult for me, hard for me, or not dangerous in terms of like a physical danger, but possibly that
bad situation.
Bad situation. It was going to deliver me something that I couldn't handle, and if I wasn't on my guard, I would be caught. Like, I'd be caught in it. Yeah. And so I couldn't give up that final piece of the puzzle because of that fear, and it was fear. Here we go again, back to what Jeff was talking about.
Yes.
And that's what it was for me. And I'm not saying that's for everybody.
No, I think it's different, because for me it was showing up more Well, there's all different aspects, and we're probably going to share more about this too, because I do think that there is like it does show up in so many different ways. There is no one thing that it shows up, and this is why it's so cool to be talking about these things, because it is such an individual experience. We're all looking through our own lens at the world, and there is no one way that you'll hear something the same as I hear it and the same as Nat says it, and it's just the way it is. It's all cool too, because it's all reflections that we get to sort of integrate. But for me, it was showing up more like that there was a small potential that this idea of being infinite actually wasn't possible. Like it was actually like a pipe dream, almost like that. I really, really want to believe that it's true, and like on some level, I feel like I'm infinite. But what if I'm chasing something that isn't actually there? Like it's almost too good.
So you believe that there was an infinite, but as a human being, you couldn't be that.
Yeah, it's almost like, is it actually possible to actually be infinite in the human world, like in the reality? But also too, then another level of like, is that actually the truth? Like, am I chasing something that's not actually real? Like, it's kind of like almost like in Catholic religion, the way we're brought up in Catholic religion is like, is heaven actually real? Like, I don't know, all this study and like way of being and dogma that you get taught. It's just like, I don't know, does heaven actually exist? Like, I don't know. Like it's kind of, there's always this like little piece of you that's just kind of going, I'm not sure about that. Like, I want to believe it, and this again is coming from the ego level. It's like, I really want to believe it's true, but I don't know if I do. And so a little bit, that's how it was showing up for me. It was just like, what if I've just wasted all these years and it's not actually there? It doesn't actually exist. It's kind of, what's the point, sort of thing. That sort of and that was something I would say to myself a lot, is like, what's the point? Like, it was kind of, and our friend Gaz actually was the one that picked me up on that, and she's just like, you say that a lot, and I was like, I do actually, about what's the point. Like, it's kind of because there's a little piece of me that's just not sure I'm putting my energy into something that's worthwhile, if you like. It's kind of that, and so it does show up in all different forms for people. I'm just looking too. My battery is getting very low. So I'd have to.
Oh, okay. I think we've chatted long enough. Vicky,
yes,
I still here with us, but because we're listening to our mind, not our feelings and our instincts. 100%. That's what we were just talking about a couple of minutes ago. She had written that. About
when we do tap into when we do listen to the mind, what the mind chatter is saying to us versus what our true feeling is. And sometimes it is difficult to tap into that space when we've got so much mind chatter going on.
It's difficult to distinguish between the two, definitely, at times.
But we do have to just spend the time getting to know what that feeling is like in our body. And sometimes that's through a circumstance outside of you that feels maybe a bit horrible. But it shows you then, like, if you can really tap into it, you can actually tune into how your body was feeling in that moment. And you always get a sign or a signal that something was a little bit off, but you still went down that track because you thought something was going to happen or you're going to be able to fix it or whatever. But it's like our body and our instincts, and the feeling that comes through us is always the truest thing that we can use to guide us. Definitely. So
rightly said. Always, if you don't want it in your life, don't think it. Don't think about that pink elephant.
That is true. Is that where your focus goes, energy flows? I think that's what the saying is, isn't it? It's like that, where you're putting your focus.
It's a really important one to remember, that little saying. It's it does pull you up a little bit. It's like, where am I putting my focus right now, my attention, my energy flowing to? Oh yes, that's right, I'm recreating the story again. I'm making the story bigger than it was.
Yes, 100%.
Very good. Well, that's it. That was a really good topic. Thank you, Gaz, for saying that. And the opportunity is not to change the story. The opportunity is to face the fear that the story stirs within us.
Yes. Let us know in the comments how this topic lands for you and where you stand on it. Are you all in? Are you all coming on the infinite journey to discover who we truly are?
Yep. And if you are in and you want to join the revolution, we haven't launched just yet. If you're watching this before the 1st of October, 2019, then we haven't launched yet. So you can come across to the infiniteme.com, or you can even come to there after the launch of it. And that's where you can sign up and register your interest. And let's go. Let's draw the line in the sand. Make your declaration.
Yep.
That it's time to live your infinite life only, and have one foot or both feet in that world, not one in each world, as we tend to be doing in consciousness work a bit. Very good.
Yep.
All right.
Right.
Well, we'll see you across there. We'll see you in the revolution, and also see you tomorrow.
Sure. Bye.
All righty. One world now, infinite beings.